5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and happy Thanksgiving. This episode is being released on Thanksgiving in 2018 still?
2018.
Okay, so if you're in the U.S. or if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. We have much to be thankful for, and one of those things at the top of our list is you. So thank you for listening. We are very excited to bring back Team Free Range Dames. This is the first we've brought a guest back for a second episode. We thought it would be a lot of fun. We caught up with them at the Northwest Overland Rally, and they laid out what all the plans were at that time for the actual rally. They've now completed the rally. They did really good. So we thought it'd be a lot of fun to bring them back in, chat with them a little bit, see how things actually went. And it was a great conversation. We had a lot of fun with them. Mercedes did a great job catching some air on the vehicle. So we got the inside scoop on that and several other things that just happened during a rally. So it was a lot of fun. We're going to jump right into the episode as we're talking to Elise and Mercedes. So you guys completed the Rebelle. It's got to feel like amazing. Am I just like the only one that's so excited for you?
Oh, so excited.
Yeah, we're super stoked. It's still hard to believe that it's been almost a month ago that we've left already and we started our journey. It seems like it was only yesterday.
So you guys did like 4,000 miles and I think it was like 8 days?
How did you guys ever survive that?
Good question.
Right. A lot of coffee. Actually, I have decaf coffee. I drink a lot of tea, but it was about 1,600 miles actually. The competition itself was about 1,600 itself off road. But before that, Elise and I had to meet up. She lives in Bozeman, Montana. I live in Portland, Oregon, and we had to meet up and drop my car off and get all of my stuff in the rig, and then drive to Tahoe, which the rally had started on the north end of Lake Tahoe and went down close to the Mexico border and ended up in Glamis Sand Dunes. So we were pretty much jet setting it everywhere.
Yeah, it's a couple miles on the truck.
Just a few.
So did everything go as you planned?
No, but it went really, really well, actually. I don't think you can plan for everything in this kind of a thing. It's such a huge undertaking. But I think that we were pretty well prepared, especially for this being our first year. And everything went, reasonably smoothly, better than we expected, although not perfectly. And we had a great time.
That's awesome. And you guys finished, if I got the numbers right, in the top 1/3 as rookies. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
That is so awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So we can't complain. We just wanted to finish strong and finish happy in a one piece with the truck sound, and we did all of the above.
Yeah, that is just absolutely just awesome.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole thing because I have like jitterbugs still for them, but they're done.
Yeah, they're done.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were in Washougal just cheering you two on, and then the first thing we saw was you had like an issue with the Terra Trip. What was the deal there?
Oh God, I have nightmares about that thing.
Oh,
Elise,
still?
do you want to talk about that?
Well, so we were using an older unit, and the wiring was maybe not as good as it could have been from the unit to the output wires. And it was just causing a lot of connectivity issues. It would power itself on and then back on again, or off and then on again. And then it would also just not read from the sensor consistently. So we ended up actually borrowing the unit from a former Rebelle who'd brought hers just in case, and it connected to everything perfectly. So it was a pretty easy fix, actually. We just needed a new TerraTrip, basically. So thank you to Pam, who helped us out with that.
Pam rocks.
Yep. We love Pam.
What team is Pam on?
She was actually the start person. She was one of the staff at the Rebelle. So she competed, I can't remember if it was the first or second year. And then this year she was on the start line, making sure all the teams were ready to go every morning and coming back every night, with all everything good to go and their trackers and sat phones still in working order.
Oh, okay. So she made sure that everybody checked out and then everybody actually returned with their partner.
Yes.
Right. And then everybody was smiling, or at least tried to smile.
And she had the biggest smile. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I loved her smile. Yeah, and still love her smile.
And the truck wrap looked awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We have to do a huge shout out to Tommy's Window Tinting, actually in Portland. They're off of Southeast 82nd, and he was one of our sponsors and helped us design it with our vision. And he's such an expert. He does so many different SEMA vehicles. He does the Portland Trailblazers vehicles. I mean, he works on like $1.8 million rigs, and he took us on. He was so happy to sponsor us, and he did the job on the wrap. And I mean, beautifully done. Him and his crew. No amount of pizza that I bought for dinner, we wrapped it, will amount to all the work that they did, all the hard work that they did.
So I'm super curious. Tell us about, there was a picture on Instagram titled Finding Solutions, and you guys were hovered around the wheel. It looked like you were in the sand. Mercedes looked very concerned. What was the issue you faced there?
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of an interesting scenario. So I think that was, Elise, was that close to halfway in, I think, with the competition?
That was day 2.
Oh, okay. Well, my days are off then a little bit. But so what had happened is we were trying to find a green checkpoint. And so there's different varying checkpoints. So there's green, blue, and black. And green are all mandatory, so you have to get them. Blue and black are optional, but it's best to be able to go get them. And you have to get them in order. So we were hunting back and forth on this gravel road, on this dirt road, trying to get in. And Elise is like, I know it's here. I know it's here. Well, we didn't know that we were parallel where we should have been, but we were just a little bit too far out. And so what happened was I backed myself up. There were berms on both sides of this gravel road, or this dirt road. And I backed the truck up and just got the butt just a little bit over on the berm, and then just did, a 3-point turn to go the opposite direction, where she thought, okay, let's try this. And as soon as I did that, just very slowly, cautiously, I took off, and there was this huge like rotational thud noise. It was like boom. Yeah. And as the faster that you went, the louder and more obnoxious it was. When you reversed, it was worse. And so we immediately stopped. I'm like, I didn't do anything. There's nothing that's wrong. It drove fine. It tracked fine. It wasn't pulling. It wasn't doing anything. But I got out. We got out. We looked underneath. We looked, we're like, God, it doesn't sound like it's a stone. Every so often there's a piece of gravel that's stuck in the, in the brakes, and it makes this shh kind of noise, or it just gets stuck and then it gets kicked out, and it didn't sound like that. And I checked the drive line and nothing was leaking. Everything seemed tight. It wasn't dragging at all, wasn't pulling. And so we thought, well, crap. At that point, we had 3 green checkpoints to do of that day. We had a bunch more of blue and blacks. We thought, we'll throw those all away. We'll do the 3. We'll get back to the mechanics. If there's a critical issue and you can't drive, you can use your sat phone to get mechanics out to you, but you'll get penalized. So Elise and I made the executive decision, okay, let's drive it. Let's see what it does. Let's figure it out. And so long story short, we ended up on kind of this riverbed of salt. It was kind of this weird like plateau area. We found the right way in. We saw the green. That day, I forgot to wear my sunglasses because I had a helmet with a visor and I didn't put my sunglasses on. At that point, early in the day, I was so snowblind, I couldn't see because it was so bright out. I couldn't see any differentiation in the road or the, just the terrain. and I hit a small V-notch in that salt bed area, and I wasn't intended, but I made the truck fly just a bit.
Oh.
And they hit down really hard. And of course, a couple of expletives came out, and you're like, oh crap, what happened? And just whatever. The second I landed, we landed fairly hard, the noise went away.
Oh, really?
Like poof, just out of thin air, completely went away. So we still don't know what it was. We checked it all out, when we got to the green checkpoint. Talked to the mechanic, the lead mechanic, Nick, who's also awesome. Everybody, all the mechanics, everybody was there awesome. And he thought it might have been something that was like a backing plate or a backer plate on the brake system that had bent just enough to make that noise. And then we hit hard again when we, after we kind of flew for millisecond, and then it righted itself enough to be fine.
Yeah. Either that or a rock. We're not sure.
Yeah, it's those mysterious sounds that'll drive you crazy.
It didn't sound like any rock
very
I've
strange.
ever had, but yeah, it didn't sound like any rock I've ever had. But I mean, who knows? They didn't seem concerned. Everything was right. I was on top, underneath, in the rig, pulling on the drive line because I thought it might have been drive line rotational, and just we never know. We just don't know, and everything seems perfectly fine. So I don't advise making the truck fly to fix anything, but that's just how it happened.
Did anybody get some video of that?
I don't know about video, but there's a lot of photography.
Do they send like a photographer out with each team every day?
No, there's a couple of groups of photographers that go out, and they basically try to get as many teams as possible, just depending on what's going on and where they find a good spot to hang out. Sometimes there was days where it felt like they were really kind of hovering and following us around and kind of popping out of the bushes, and then there were other days where we didn't really see them. So
I think the 2 days that I remembered them most was one when I was underneath the vehicle checking this exact mechanical issue, and then out pops this the woman Nicole, and she's like, hey, I wanted to take some photos, and so she caught me there. And then at the tail end, right after, actually it was after day 6, I took my helmet off, and I just had some sensitivity on the top of my forehead, and I looked in the side mirror, and I realized that I was blistering from my helmet. And so I grabbed my first aid kit, and I didn't have much. I just thought, I'll just grab a Band-Aid and put it on, because it was, during day 6, and I had to wear my helmet again for a bit. And so at that exact second, there was another photographer. I don't know where they were, but of course they have me, with my helmet, looking at my forehead, putting the Band-Aid on, and just, rocking and rolling with it. So.
And you had mentioned that you had several green checkpoints to go that day. How many checkpoints did you have every day?
Anywhere from about 10 to 20. I think the biggest day was either 22 or 23.
And how many of those were green, blue, and black on average?
Usually we had, I want to say, 4 or 5 green checkpoints. And then, depending on how many checkpoints we had that day, they'd be fairly evenly split between the blues and the blacks after that.
Okay, very good.
So I saw or heard about a sheep incident. What was that deal?
So on day 0, on day 0, we were going from Lake Tahoe to Central Nevada. The first base camp was right past Kingston Canyon, and there's a lot of sheep herding in Nevada, especially in the mountains. It's a really good place to graze sheep, and so we were going through Kingston Canyon, and that's the first sheep incident. We basically ran into a whole herd of sheep with some Pyrenees mountain dogs and a sheep herder and his mule. They were just, in the middle of the road, trying to get the sheep across, and we had a bit of a standoff with one of the dogs, just kind of, hey, what are you doing here? Don't mess with my sheep.
Yeah, I was kind of afraid he was going to jump on the truck or whatnot. There was 3 or 4 of them, and they kind of came charging, and there was a lead dog right there, and we're like, nice puppy.
And that was the first sheep issue? Did you have several?
That was the first, yeah. So then there was another sheep herd a little bit further down that road, and then we got out of the canyon, and then it was further down the road, I believe there was another big herd that we ran into that just kind of pushed out of the way, but it was really fun. We got a good photo out of that.
On Rebelle Rally's Instagram and Facebook, they just posted the ladder of the two sheep herds, so to speak, or sheep traffic jams on their page. I think, was it yesterday or earlier today? I can't remember. My days are kind of all jumbling together.
It was yesterday, yeah.
Was it yesterday? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can see the back of our truck. We were the lead vehicle, and of course, there's hundreds of sheep all around. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they better move to their lamb for dinner, huh?
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah. I think somebody posted it or commented back on Instagram being like, "This makes me hungry." I'm like,
I love lamb gyros. They're good.
Horrible.
They're delicious.
So how did the Glamis sand dunes go? We talked about that when we first talked to you at the Northwest Overland Rally, and that was like a big focus of the one thing to really focus on. And I know Mercedes was doing as much practice in the sand at the Oregon coast, I think. How did that go?
Right.
It went pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, it went well. It was a challenge, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's one of those days that really sets apart the very experienced rebels from the more novice rebels. And so this year, it being our first year and having really limited experience with sand, we stayed a little bit more on the outskirts of the sand dunes. And so we had really good experience just driving around kind of the periphery and doing some of the checkpoints that were a little bit more accessible, that were still in the sand, but that weren't in the big dunes that were super technical. And they actually marked on our checkpoint guide those dunes or the checkpoints in the dunes that were very technical, so that we could decide how confident we were feeling for each of those checkpoints. And so we decided to stay a little bit conservative this year. And so we ended up actually getting most of the points that we tried for, which I felt really good about. And we got all of our green checkpoints. And we had a little bit of time in the afternoon to kind of play around and maybe try something, just to kind of test ourselves and push ourselves a little bit. But ultimately, we were more focused on the flatter, more even sand.
Okay, good. Mercedes, how did you feel about the sand dunes? Did you think the practice in the Oregon dunes was good for you?
I think anytime off-roading or anytime practicing is good. What I learned now being in several different sand dunes in many states is that sand is very different. The Oregon coast is so much more hard-packed and not loose at all. And even if you get to the areas that are shielded by the pine trees that we have, the coastal trees, not anywhere near the soft and deep and crazy slip-faced type of sand that Glamis has, or even Idaho. Elise, I flew out to Elise about a month and a half or so earlier than the competition, and we went to Idaho, or St. Anthony Dunes in Idaho, and that was a lot more of what Glamis felt like. So yes, it was great practice, but it was also in a right-hand drive stick shift turbo diesel vehicle, which has a lot of torque way down low, compared to the stick shift Tacoma that I ended up driving with Elise. And where, of course, the power band's way high and it's a gasoline engine, and you're doing your stick with your right hand versus your left hand. So, but all of it was great. I am very fortunate that I had the chance, the opportunity to practice a lot, to fly out to see her, to practice on dirt, on sand, on just about any surface I can get my hands on during that duration of 6 months, to be able to make it work and drive as best as I could.
Okay, super interesting. Yeah, I've only been to Sand Lake and to Florence. Yeah, those are the only two places I've been in sand, so I didn't know it was going to be. So it sounds like it's a lot softer and deeper.
Yeah, it's a lot softer, and there's a lot more dunes themselves, like these big, huge rolling hills, and some of them on the backside, there are these what they call slip faces, where they literally just go straight down, or at a very steep vertical. You can drive down some of these, but you have to be really careful. And the other thing, there's several different things you need to look out for that we don't have here in Oregon. Even at Christmas Valley in Central Oregon, we don't really have another thing called witch's eyes, which I've never heard of. I don't know, Elise, if you've ever heard of them, but they're like these depressions that are usually in the backsides of some of the real steeper dunes, or even not as steep, but they are deep. They could be hard packed, they could be very loose, but don't get in them, because if you fall into them or if you drive into them, they're really difficult to get out, because you have to go nowhere but up to get out. And a lot of times, if you get stuck, you're there for a while trying to get yourself out.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they can be quite dangerous.
So what were the most valuable tools that you had with you?
As far as recovery tools, or?
Yeah, either that or mapping tools, because you were doing a lot of navigation.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll speak to the navigation aspect. The essentials are obviously compass, which I, was pulling out every couple of minutes. And then as well as a plotter, I was using a Portland plotter. And then the map rulers and lots of pencils. That'll get you a long way. I don't think I use very much more than that the entire time. Maybe a highlighter here and there, and my little Post-it tabs to kind of help visually make things stand out on the map. It was basically just, the rulers, the compass, and the plotter to try and, make everything kind of come together between real life and the map.
And as far as myself, I ended up getting duplicates and triplicates of what Elise had wanted it to get for her gear. So I bought a Portland plotter. I have a different kind of compass than what she had, but I bought another higher end compass, a bunch of sticky notes, a bunch of extra rulers, because every previous Rebelle that we've ever talked to said, you're going to be losing stuff. You're going to be breaking stuff. Okay. You're going to, not be able to find it, and you're going to need your 100,000 scale, and you've lost 2 of them, and you need a third. And so I bought a bunch of those extras, but I also used that to train with myself. So I wanted to make sure I had a good basic knowledge of how to plot, how to measure, how to get bearings or take bearings, and how to understand that. So in case she gets sick or she needs a second set of eyes, or, hey, I'm really fatigued, can you just double check this for me? I know what the heck's going on, and I can get her there and get us there. If she needs a little bit of help. So that was good for me to be able to do that. On the vehicle standpoint, we came pretty well prepared. So Max Tracks, we had 4 Max Tracks, which is also one of our sponsors. Actually, this is a good plug for sponsors.
Yeah.
So Max Tracks, which we used a couple of times because, of course, I got us stuck in the dunes. And then also we had a worn winch up front, and then they filled in with some of the recovery gear that we didn't have with us. And then also PolPal had supplied a land anchor for us. And if you're not familiar with what a land anchor is, if you can't winch yourself to a tree or to another vehicle or something like that, you can use a land anchor. It's like a spade and kind of an arm that comes out. You can set it in sand, you can set it in clay or snow or things like that. And it really, you winch your line to it, and then you use your winch to kind of pull yourself taut with it. And then you can pull yourself out essentially with it. You might need to take a couple of times depending on how far down it digs, but you can get yourself out without having to have an anchor point, so to speak, because that is your quote-unquote anchor. Thankfully, we didn't need to use our one winch or our PolPal land anchor, but we had those with us in case, God forbid, we fell into a witch's eye and we couldn't get ourselves out, or if we needed to help another Rebelle out.
Did you guys end up swapping positions at all, or did you stick with Elise doing the navigation, Mercedes doing the driving?
I think I hopped in the driver's seat for 2 minutes the entire time to go. We were looking for, yeah, we were looking for a blue checkpoint, and I was kind of, we were pretty close to it, and so I was just kind of got out and walked around a little bit, and then tried to do a little bit more triangulating. Meanwhile, Mercedes kind of took off in the other direction, and she ended up quite a ways up the hill. So I was like, "Oh, what the heck? I can't even hear what she's saying." So I better go. I better go get up there real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. we were close to it, and I didn't know I was just beyond. Just beyond.
You were
the
just up
where
the
I
hill.
was. Yeah, I was just up the hill, and thankfully, I was yelling for her to try to get the truck. She didn't hear me, but then I
did not hear her, but I had, yeah, I had some, an inkling of what I should what I should do.
Yeah,
what
well,
would be appreciated.
Well, just before that, I think an hour or two or earlier in that day, she hiked up this massive freaking steep incline. None of us were willing to go up, and there were even some previous rebels were like, yeah, no. And people were like, yeah, screw this. Or that, it was a black checkpoint, actually. So black checkpoints aren't visible at all. You have to just navigate and be able to plot so precisely that you can get this black checkpoint and then click your tracker and hope for the best. And so Elise is like, it's got to be up here at, and I said, well, you're a lot more fit than I am. And so she climbed all the way on up there. She ran up there and clicked it. So I thought, all right, I will hike this one. And so she thankfully got me.
So was it the right place, Elise?
That big monster hill? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got 8 out of 9 points on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a tricky one.
Yeah, and it was extra points. It was high points because it was a little bit more tricky and more technical driving, which it was not technical hiking. It just kind of sucked.
It was just steep.
So,
sand?
And we'd planned our
sand with a lot of tracks already in it, and it was very steep. So I knew with the truck, especially with driving, because the Tacoma was a manual transmission. So, I knew enough I could get us up there probably halfway comfortably, 3/4 if I really revved the hell out of it, but I didn't want to be that hard. And it was not, it was earlier in the competition. I just didn't want to beat the truck to crap.
Oh, sure.
And we'd also okay to walk to the checkpoints. We don't have to drive to every single one of them. We can hike them. We actually hiked in our last one.
But you got to take your clicker.
The last one of the dunes.
You have to take the clicker.
You have to have the clicker, right.
Don't forget the clicker.
We were like, I gotta hike up it, and then of course, crap, I forgot the tracker with the clicker.
Oh, painful.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys reach your sponsorship and fundraising goals?
So with it being the first year, we didn't really know quite what to expect as far as the sponsorship level, and we're very new to GoFundMe or how to fundraise or pulling together proposals and things like that. We reached it with a multifaceted effort. So GoFundMe, sponsorships, friends and family, and a good amount of it ended up coming from both them and us. So Josh, her husband, and Elise, and then also with us. And there are a lot of different rebels that do different things. So, we've heard that some people end up being Lyft drivers, like in the PM hours, to be able to get extra money. A lot of people do like parties or bake sales or have community efforts or their local 4x4 club pitch in money or do like a drive or ride or something like that. All sorts of different things. Your local coffee shop might pitch in some money. So,
sure.
By the time Elise and I firmed things up that we wanted to be a Rebelle team and that we were going to do this together was probably in May at some point. So May to October is not a huge amount of time. We did great with the time that we had, but I think, now knowing and wanting to do it again next year, I would change a couple of different things and I would go about it in a little bit more of a different way.
Gotcha. And Elise, what time did you get up each day to do your mapping, the plotting on the map?
A little bit before 5. Oh. So the bell would ring right around 5. And usually I'd be hearing some of the other rebels kind of, making a little bit of a rustle before. So I'd be kind of ready to go by that point. But yeah, 5 a.m., get up, get your stuff together, get into the tent, grab the checkpoint guide, roll out all your maps and start plotting right away.
And at that time, when she would be plotting, I would get her whatever she'd need. So usually she got her own coffee and whatnot, but I would grab keys to the vehicle because then you can grab your keys. And then if there's anything that I didn't do the night before, like, for instance, you have to get gas right when you get back into base camp. And I would do the fluid checks. I would check the oil. I would check all the different fluids. I'd do a leak check, making sure that the shocks are okay and nothing's leaking from underneath. Check the drive line, crawl underneath it. And just make sure that everything that might be loose, bolts and things or the lightener rack, whatnot, tighten everything up. And so if I didn't do any of that or I didn't do all of it the night before, I would do that in the morning. Then I would start packing up camp. So while she would be plotting, if we had to move our base camp that night, I'd be packing up the tents, packing up the gear, making sure to get the truck all ready and buttoned up. And then also getting her breakfast. Usually I was like, Elise, 2 seconds, what do you want for food? And then I try to get her whatever she'd need. And by the end of that week or those 10 days, I knew pretty much what she wanted to eat, what she couldn't eat, and what she wanted to drink. So I was like, at her beck and call, and I didn't want to disrupt her because, with a navigator, if you're plotting and your eyes are on the map so much and so intensely, the last thing I want to do is be the driver just nagging her, just going, hey. So I just left her be, and I tried to do everything under the sun that I could, and then wait until it looked like she was going to take a break or look up, and then I would ask her.
Gotcha. No test flights in the morning, Mercedes?
No test flights. I only did that twice during the whole entire competition. Yeah, no, not making that. But I did start it in the morning for 10, 15 minutes, just make sure everything, ran well, and checked everything underneath the hood and make sure there wasn't any new noises or whatnot.
We had a good little checklist system, basically, where we would check off, all the fluids, do the tires look okay? Are all the bolts fastened tightly? And that worked really well for us.
Yes.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago that you were going to do this again next year. Together, the same team?
I think so, yeah.
That's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we literally have just come back from this. And I was home less than a week, and I was at the SEMA show in Las Vegas for the last several days. And home, and then we're both home for less than a week, and now we're both heading out to Overland Expo East for the next several days over the weekend. And so we've had very little time to even connect. I mean, we need to connect about expenses, and we, heck, I haven't even looked at the professional photographs that we bought yet for the package.
Oh, yeah.
And, she and I need to do a lot of things yet. And so, yeah, we definitely want to talk about it. We both, and Elise, I don't want to talk for you, but both had a great time. And yeah, I'm definitely raring to go. I definitely want to do more, I think more rallies in my future, and I would love to be another Rebelle.
And what would you tell any other woman thinking about their Rebelle?
Just do it. It was an incredibly rewarding experience. I've never been challenged so much in my life, or rarely. And it's empowering. You get to meet an incredible community of other badass women who work really hard and who lift each other up. It's worth all of the hard work to get there, and it's worth the hard work they have to do to get to the finish line. It was an incredible experience, and I would recommend that everybody do it.
And to add to Elise's comments too, I would definitely agree. I mean, it's, for us, we were both fairly new and driving off-road, and, I've never held a compass before. I still, it's like, how does this work? How do you open it? What the heck are all these numbers? And, so for me, it was such a learning experience, not only practicing off-road driving, but navigating and time management and strategizing and networking with different like-minded women and just trying this all out. There are people that are really seasoned ralliers and racers that are doing this, but there are people that literally are like, I've never even done this, and this is my first time, and I have no practice. At least I had 6 months to practice driving. But, and as far as Elise and myself, we're super happy to talk to anybody. So if there are women that are looking to get into the off-road industry, whether it's driving or rallying or just even getting a job or whatever, contact us. We would love to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. Well, I'm super glad that we were able to connect with you ladies real quick and catch up with you after the Rebelle. We are just so excited for you guys and so proud of your accomplishments and how well you finished, and that you did finish in really good condition. So I know, Mercedes, you've got to get up early. You're both going, I believe, to Expo East. So that is just super fascinating. And is there anything else that you'd like to tell our listeners about the Rebelle or about your experience before we cut you loose?
I think the only things for myself is if anybody wanted to contact us, we are pretty much all over the place. We have a website, teamfreerangedames.com. So again, teamfreerangedames.com. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. And if anybody wanted to reach out via email, it's Elise at teamfreerangedames, and that's ELISE, or Mercedes at teamfreerangedames.com. We also are partnered on YouTube with Pickup Truck and SUV Talk. They have a playlist of us. They've done 4 different episodes of us, all throughout the duration from training to the Rebelle, through the Rebelle, and we just recorded our synopsis. So we're really easy to get a hold of. We're online all the time. She's in the off-road industry. I'm in the off-road industry as a full-time freelancer. So we're easy to get a hold of, and we love to talk to people. So, reach out to us. And we just wanted to thank all of our different sponsors and family and friends and everybody that has helped us in any way, shape, or form to be able to get here to do this, because we couldn't have done it with all of your support.
That's great. And I believe, so on the website, it's teamfreerangedames.com.
Yes.
And then the same thing for Facebook and Instagram, Team Free Range Dames.
Exactly. And everything's got the same logo. We've got a customized logo. So if you see that logo, you know that's us.
Perfect. You two ladies are badass women.
All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. It was great to touch base.
Yeah, thanks for taking your time. And
yeah, you too.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers. And thank you, Mercedes and Elise. It was a lot of fun to catch up with you after the Rebelle, so congratulations on your success and inspiring other women to tackle new adventure. If you'd like to follow the Free Range Dames, you can find them easily at teamfreerangedames.com and Team Free Range Dames on all the socials.
It's a good idea to visit the show notes page on our website at ghteoverland.com/podcasts. Select the Free Range Dames 2 episode. All the details and helpful links are already there for you.
And remember, we have 2 new resources available for you now. We have the Overland Gear and Gift Guide. So just go to ghteoverland.com and follow the obvious links on the homepage.
We also have the new YouTube video series live. This week, a drive up to Timberline Lodge on Mount Hood in Oregon. Enjoy some of the first snow on an early fall drive.
It was a beautiful drive up there, so we hope you enjoy that. And send your questions, suggestions, and feedback to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. If you have an Amazon Echo, remember to tell Alexa, play the GHT Overland podcast. And that is a great way to listen to the podcast on Thanksgiving Thursday, or Black Friday, or Cyber Monday. I don't know what they call Saturday and Sunday. A day off, hopefully.
The weekend.
We'd love it if you'd connect with us on social media. So follow us at GHT Overland. Over on the Instagram, it's GHT Overland Podcast. Be sure to share this episode with your friends who enjoy travel off the beaten path. Overland travel is all about meeting new friends, seeing the most amazing places on earth, and of course, new food and new drinks.
Do you have a favorite drink or food recipe for overlanding? We'd love to feature it and you. Send them to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. Before you race off, it would mean the world to us if you'd rate and review the podcast. Give GHT Overland a little iTunes love so we can reach as many overlanders as possible.
Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for a brand new episode of the GHT Overland Podcast. Have a great week.
Bye.